You've hit play on the Screen Companion, a show about helping you to decide what to watch tonight. Today we are highlighting Michael Keaton, Clean and Sober 1988, Birdman 2014, The Founder 2016. Let's just go chronologically. In Clean and Sober, Michael Keaton stars as Daryl Pointer, a Philadelphia real estate salesman and addict who lands in hot water after a one-night stand, ODs in his bed, and the firm discovers he's been embezzling to fund his habit. Wanting to disappear, he enters a drug rehabilitation program, banging his head against the walls trying to figure a way out of his problems while also going through the hell of detox. He is indeed where he should be, and that he does, in fact, need to get clean and sober. John, do you think this movie is a dime a dozen as far as addiction movies go, or are there any areas where it distinguishes itself?
I think it worked really well because every addiction movie has a formula. Oh, he needs to get in there, he pretends he's fine, oh, he relapses, and this didn't follow that formula at all, and I thought it did a really good job.
Unlike some other movies, this one doesn't explicitly have him holding some other dead addict in his arms or something super dramatic where you go, oh yeah, he's really hit it.
This movie's about him. It's not other people's problems, I guess.
Also, I liked the character Charlie. She's another addict in the program. And I was surprised, the second half of the movie, how much it shifts and she becomes a really close second lead because I cared about what happened to her.
Want some more coffee or something?
I think I better go.
Why?
I told Lenny I was working.
So?
So what if he calls? I'm not there.
Live with me.
I can't.
Why not?
I can't leave Lenny.
Why not?
Because
why?
Because it's not that easy.
It is. All you gotta do is want it.
Well, I don't know if I want it.
Well, you know, you deserve somebody who cares about you. You know, maybe it's not me. I mean, it might be somebody else, but it sure ain't Lenny.
I can't.
Yes, you can. All you gotta do is tell him. Fuck it, I'll tell him.
No. Hey, no. Hey, I'll tell him.
Here.
I can't tell him.
Why? You're afraid? Don't be afraid. Don't you get it? You're never gonna have to see this guy again, ever. I'll go to the house. I'll get your stuff out. He wouldn't have to deal with you. He'll have to deal with me. Just tell him.
He kept saying he needed her.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to get together. That wasn't going to be healthy if they did.
No, there's no way. They never bring up why she's even in there, and multiple people kept saying, why are you in here? There's the family group. Her boyfriend, I guess, the other addict came and was like, I don't even know why she's in here.
Well, she says in that scene that she was in danger of getting fired because she was getting high too much.
But we never see her high. Like, the whole first act was Michael Keaton strung out.
We did see her about to get high.
Yeah, she was about to. There's that scene where he found her vial of drug, unspecified drug, that she flushed immediately.
Or so we think.
Yeah, we never saw it. That's true. It's the old, if there's no dead body, the guy's not dead trope, I guess.
But they circle each other because they had a lot of chemistry. In another movie, they would have been good together, but she already seemed like she was in one codependent relationship with her abusive boyfriend. That to leave him and move in with Daryl the way he wanted her to was going to open another can of worms. Isn't that something they say about people in a rehabilitation program or on the 12 steps? You shouldn't be hanging out with a bunch of other addicts that are as fresh to it as you are.
Yeah, you need a sponsor. You don't need someone else. I guess it's like a balancing on a boat thing where it's like, You need someone on shore, you don't need someone else on the boat who could easily bring you off when they go down.
It makes sense for Daryl not to see that, but other characters around him, and I think even Charlie does at one point, they mention it to him that it's not really a good idea. What for you stands out about Keaton's portrayal of an addict?
The confidence that he wasn't one. He went in, he kept calling for coke, he kept going back, he kept passing every drug test.
Tell me how happy I'm going to be with this one, Daryl. Am I going to be happy? Let me ask you something. What the fuck are you doing here? You got a problem, Daryl? You don't even know you got a problem, do you? You know how long you've been straight, man? 12 days. 12 whole days. 12 days, 3 hours, and 20 seconds. 24 seconds. 26 seconds. That's how we do it, Daryl. Second at a time. Minute at a time. 1 day at a time. But you gotta know you got a problem. Drink up, will you?
They didn't have that moment where he relapses.
He just had the realization of, okay, I am an addict. I need to find a real sponsor, not try and bang every chick here.
I was seeing traces of Beetlejuice in some of the petulant, I'm the victim here temper tantrums.
Yes. There was a lot of moments in the movie that I was just like, how is this just not considered a dark comedy? And they're like, oh, it's straight up drama. Some of this is really funny. Like you said, yeah, I kept seeing flashes of Beetlejuice. Like, hey, there he is. Can't say his name too much.
And since that released earlier in the same year, 1988, maybe he hadn't shaken the ghost with the most completely from his psyche.
I was still in there. Still part of who he was.
Hey, maybe part of it is his hairstyle in the movie. If you just dye it white, it's very reminiscent of Beetlejuice.
It was the start of the widow's peak. 80s crazy where everyone pretended it was okay because everyone was high on cocaine.
Yeah, but crazy, grimy, that worked for this movie.
It did. Maybe this was... I don't know how the time works in the afterlife. Maybe this who Beetlejuice was when he was alive, and then when he dies.
Oh my god, that's his origin story.
The post-credit scene is he ODs. Like, he could just exist forever in the afterlife in both directions, right?
Oh, crap. I like that so much. Although that means this movie ultimately ends with a really depressing ending.
It's going to be a depressing ending, but we cracked it.
This movie came out the year before Batman, and that Tim Burton production caught flack from Keaton's announcement as Bruce Wayne. Do you think Clean and Sober shows any qualities that supports his casting in Batman?
Absolutely, because the character's supposed to be dark and brooding, and I feel like the complaint was, did you just cast Mr. Mom as Batman?
Well, I understand that it was announced long before the release date, but I hope that since Clean and Sober came out the year before Batman, that once people saw him in it, they felt a little bit better about his casting.
Kind of like Layer Cake when Daniel Craig was announced as Bond.
Yeah. Especially WB cartoons back in the 90s. Sometimes they would have caricatures of Michael Keaton, and they always have him with gigantic arched eyebrows. Those eyebrows do a lot of work.
His caricature eyebrows are putting on all the work, and the rest of it, no one notices that his mouth is literally just a little starfish.
Why do you have to describe it like that?
I wanted to take the high road and not say butthole.
Oh, man. So what was your favorite scene or supporting performance?
Henry Judd Baker as Xavier, the guy who breaks the TV at the beginning and goes nuts, and then he's just killing it in all the physical activities later in the movie. He did so much with nothing.
How do you know that dude's name?
Because I'm looking at the IMDb page.
Oh, okay, because I thought maybe he ended up being a bigger actor than I'm aware of.
He might have been.
For a split second, I thought he might have been Hightower from Police Academy.
That'd be great. No, he was on an episode of Dark Shadows, though.
When we are first introduced to that guy, he's losing it from being in detox. And I'm glad that they brought him back. Because that seemed like it could have been just his one moment in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then he sticks with it, and he has a little bit of a redemption arc. You see him doing those push-ups like crazy.
Yeah, he's going nuts.
I was really scared for those two nurses that were trying to wrangle him at the beginning.
Oh my, he was gonna just crush them.
He was twice their size.
Yeah.
Over 80 episodes of The Screen Companion. Listen to the show on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and more. Drop us a line via thescreencompanion@gmail.com or join the Facebook group. Tell us your favorite guests and what topics we should cover next. Further support the host by going on Amazon.com and picking up his two sci-fi novels, Self-Recognition and Traversal, The Weight of Worlds, available in digital and print editions. I think so often in these types of downward spiral dramas, they build up to the lead character breaking down and sobbing. It can be powerful, but I also think it's low-hanging fruit. I hate when they treat a performance as amazing because the actor cried every other scene. In Clean and Sober, when we finally get that moment where Daryl is going to break down, he starts to weep, and then he gets hit in the back with a snowball. I love that. Sometimes the events are enough, and I don't need tears to know a character feels like crap.
That was his wake-up moment of just like, I feel bad. Ah, snowball.
Like, that would have been his Oscar moment, but then, like in a comedy sketch, the music starts to swell and then immediately breaks up.
Something kills it.
What's your biggest criticism for the movie?
It almost romanticized cocaine.
Really? In what way?
You never see it. He just wakes up one day and, oh, he's the best worker at his firm and he's so good at working, and then, like, without the cocaine, his life falls apart.
But it also put him in that position.
It kinda did.
What do you mean?
Well, at the end, when he's yelling at all his coworkers for all the shit they've done, too, everyone in this real estate business is a human being. There's no way those assholes weren't also high on cocaine.
That boardroom scene... Actually, I think he interrupted them in the middle of lunch.
I think so.
Because I think they had food on the table, and they're like, we're having a meeting right now, Daryl. It's like, no, you're not. You're eating. Shut up. I have something to tell you. I got flashbacks to when you've done something wrong, and your parent confronts you about it.
Oh.
Because he tries to say that he lost the money without saying specifically how he lost the money. And then the head of the company just looks at him and says, Daryl, did you steal it or did you blow it up your nose or something?
Something to the effect of, like, use it for personal gain or something like that.
And just the way Daryl squirms. Yeah, he's caught. He's caught. He has to admit to it, and then he sits down and pours his heart out. I'm happy to say my dad never had to sit me down because I stole money to buy Coke.
Yeah.
Not even the drink. I never stole, even for the drink.
Did you buy Coke? It was vanilla Coke. What?
Don't act like you don't drink Coke.
I learned it from watching you.
I'm trying to think of... Because I always maintain, even if you love a movie, there's something to complain about. I guess if I could see a director's cut, some special re-release, I want a little more from the ending. It feels very abrupt. And I see why they did it that way, because the real meat of the story felt like it was over, but I could have used a little more with him. Oh, maybe What if he ends up sponsoring somebody at that meeting at the end of the movie?
Oh, yeah, that might work.
Who's the guy that mentored him, that actor's name?
Emmett Walsh.
Yes. I liked him in the movie as well. If you were the head of the MPA in 1988, and what we saw is what you had to rate, do you agree with the R rating it originally got?
In the 80s? Maybe. To protect the children, I probably would, yeah. It opens on a bare bottom, and I think I was 6 when this movie came out. Obviously I didn't see it then, but...
Well, if it had been a PG-13, then you wouldn't have been allowed to see it.
That too. You make a compelling point. Maybe PG-13 would have been the better choice.
It's a really tame R. Can we agree on that?
It is tame R. I think I was a little shocked when I saw that it was R afterwards. I don't even think there's that much swearing, right?
No, there isn't. I remember the very first time I saw this movie. That opening scene, Daryl in bed with a woman who turns out to have OD'd. She's face down, butt up, naked. I think I saw this as a teenager originally, and I was like, ooh, bare bottom. And then the way he gets in there.
Oh, yeah, because he's going to do more coke. That's the romanticizing of cocaine, is doing it off a sexy lady's body part.
But then the moment you realize something's wrong with her, I'm like, oh, gross, Daryl. Stop it. Don't get in there. Don't you realize that it's cold? But yeah, turns out the lesson here is a nice butt isn't always perfect. There could be something wrong with the situation.
It could be a nice dead butt.
Besides him being decades younger in this movie, is there anything in Clean and Sober that's unique compared to Keaton acting in today's other movies?
I think a lot of his modern movies, he just shows a rage. I wouldn't want to get yelled at by this guy. I'm not necessarily afraid of him, but I don't want to get yelled at. And I don't think he demonstrated that rage in this movie. I think he was more morose.
And more childish, too.
Because he spent the whole movie trying to undermine Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. That guy plays a mentor in just about everything.
He's the wise old guy watching this movie, seeing him as a young man. He's still the wise old man.
But I don't think he ever comes off as the magical black guy. Do you think?
No, he's not. He's not the magical black guy in this movie, as he is in
Shawshank.
Shawshank. Thank you.
I don't recall there being a specific heart-to-heart moment where he's been the tough guy getting on Daryl's butt about staying clean. And it's not that crap where it's like, oh, we found a middle ground. We're eye to eye on it now. Oh, we're friends. Let's give each other a hug. None of that crap.
No, that never happened. It was just probably a pre-rehearsed speech while they were both peeing at the same time.
Moving on to Birdman. John, what's it about?
Birdman! A washed-up superhero actor attempts to revive his fading career by writing, directing, and starring in a Broadway play based on a book he loves.
And did you read that off of IMDb?
Most of it.
One of these days, we're going to work up your confidence enough where you don't do that.
I always get, sidetracked. I'm like, this movie's about that one scene where Emma Stone smoked on a roof.
Yeah, where Edward Norton's character was mad that they didn't use real fruit on set.
Yeah.
You being married to someone in the theater world, how does the behind-the-scenes nature of the story feel real or not compared to stories you might have heard?
This was the first time my wife and I were able to sit through the whole movie, because the last time I tried to show her the movie, she got a call from work that things were going very wrong behind the scenes, so we couldn't finish the film. We had to leave about half hour in. The comedy being we couldn't watch a movie about things going wrong in a theater because things went wrong in her theater.
We don't have an actor. And if we cancel the first preview, the press is going to smell blood. And we can't afford to lose any more money at all.
Okay, what do you think I should do?
Well, we hired understudy. Let's use the understudy.
No.
Reagan, listen to me, please, for the love of God. Listen, our perfect dream actor is not going to knock on that door and go, hey, fellas, when do I start, you know?
Can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Did you find another actor?
No.
Okay, well, Mike's available.
He is? Mike who?
I thought he was doing the thing.
He was. He quit. Or got fired.
Mike who?
Which is it, quit or fire?
Well, with the Mike, it's usually both.
Mike fucking who?
Shiner.
Yes!
Jake.
Oh my gosh, how do you know Mike Shiner?
We share a vagina.
You think he'd want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
Because he told me he wanted to do it.
Jake, yes. Ask me if he sells tickets.
Fine, does he sell tickets?
He sells a shitload of tickets.
Okay.
Now ask me if the theater critics love him.
The theater critics love him.
They want to spooge on him. Hey, Leslie,
Right on his face.
everything for a reason, right?
Think he'd come in this evening?
I'll call him and find out.
Michael Keaton plays Riggin in this film, and Riggin is producing a play that he thinks is going to be his comeback. And you're saying the hectic nature of the behind the scenes in the movie is pretty true?
Yes. I counted about 57 times where my wife yelled, the actor shouldn't be the director, every time something went wrong.
Well, I would like to hear her say that to Warren Beatty. He did pretty well.
He's not trying to direct a play.
So with Keaton's past mirroring his Birdman character in certain regards, did you find that it added positively to the flick, or did it ever take you out of it?
I loved that aspect. I felt that was the movie for me. It added definitely positively to it.
But do you think, besides that, I guess you could say Michael Keaton isn't overly serious about his acting credits, is there anything in the movie that feels like he's commenting on his past specifically?
Obviously, well, Birdman and Batman are so similar, like the flying-themed heroes. I think the only difference is that Batman bowed out of Batman 3 so that he wouldn't become Riggins, I guess.
That's true. In Birdman, don't they say that he went to part 4? Was that his last movie, or was it 3?
I think it was 3, and part 4 was, all he had to do was say yes and make $1 billion. And he was trying to be a relevant actor, not just a movie star.
Huh, how dare he.
The nerve!
Considering how narcissistic he comes off, I'm surprised that he would have turned down the 4th movie in a popular franchise.
He's so narcissistic, he sees himself as having superpowers.
We'll talk more about that when we get into the ending.
Yeah, okay.
What was your favorite scene or supporting performance?
It always tickles me pink when he locks himself out of the back of the theater and has to walk through Times Square in his underpants just to get back in on time to catch his cue. Everyone else felt that it's such a realistic performance, and really, he was just an idiot.
And that's not like it was a volumetric backdrop. Wasn't he just walking through in real life?
Yeah.
I wonder what was going through Keaton's head when he had to shoot that scene. Ah, it's so breezy today.
It's chillier than I remember for August.
And what do you feel like is your biggest criticism?
I'm going to go with 2, because the constant cut, the nonstop single shot, sometimes gets distracting. And then they use the pretending that he has superpowers part a few times. I remember watching it live and like, wait a minute. Rewatching it with my wife, having to explain it, be like, I think he's just delusional. He hasn't let go of the past of being a superhero. Because he keeps hearing that voice. The delusions and the voice go together.
This is the second time I've seen this movie. Specifically, the ending bothered me, and I wasn't sure if it was a movie I would put in my plus column or in my negative column. That's why I was happy to revisit it for this. But it actually degraded further than I thought it would. It was more than just the ending this time. Every scene, it felt like a movie, and I think part of it is what you're talking about with the constant oneer, the simulated oneer, because it obviously wasn't one long take.
Yeah.
But the writing, too, that felt overwrought. The characters were brought in a way that I think would have worked better on stage than on film. The moment I realized it was too clever for its own good was when Michael Keaton and Ed Norton are walking on the sidewalk and they pass a street musician who's playing the drums, and the percussion score turns diegetic in that moment. It took me right out of the movie. That's funny in a parody flick like Johnny Dangerously. In Birdman, I'm thinking, what are we doing? Do you want me to believe in this world or not?
And he comes across that same guy, I think, later in the movie, he's in the break room, still playing the soundtrack for the movie.
Yeah, it's like, don't wink at me with that crap. On the second watch, I was checked out. I think I had a better time the first watch because it was in a theater. That definitely helps. Any movie's always going to get a little better seeing it in a theater. And back in 2014, I was happy to see a career resurgence for Michael Keaton. Since then, he's gone back to the well, played Batman, he's doing Beetlejuice 2. There isn't the same absence to make the heart grow fonder. And now the most important part of this conversation about Birdman. John, tell me, what do you think the ending means?
I think he's in hell.
Okay, well, we'll just set it up for us. You know, what leads to the ending? What is the ending, or at least what we see on screen?
The play character, the stage character that Riggins is playing, is supposed to shoot himself at the end of the play. And on opening night, he brings a real gun in and he shoots himself on opening night. As soon as that happens, that's the first cut. That's the first cut in the movie. And then he wakes up wearing a mask that looks just like the Birdman mask. And his nose is all messed up and makes him look like the Birdman character. Then he flies out a window. I think he died on stage and this is his hell.
Damn. I'll buy that.
Alright.
Because I always want to start from a place of logic, not just what can we do to spice up the interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just said, if I play it through my mind, I said I checked out. I have seen this movie. However, this is one of the few times for the podcast where I did not watch the whole movie to prepare. I watched the first act, got bored with it. I also had a headache, so that didn't help. I was tired of the movie. But I knew I wanted to talk about the ending with you, so I definitely caught the last 15, 20 minutes. When Emma Stone, who plays his daughter, comes into the room after he's gone out onto the windowsill, we don't know if he jumped or not, we don't see him, and she looks down at the sidewalk, and then she looks up and she smiles. It makes no sense to me, but the way you described it, what if she's like a demon in his hell, and that's why she's smiling, because she's evil, and he's dead?
Yeah, he's dead, and she's there to torture him.
I think there are very few logical ways to make this make sense. But what I came up with was going back to all the times they're winking at the audience, letting you know it's a movie, the same way that, like, Saturday Night Live sketches. How often do you ever watch one and feel like you're sucked into the moment?
Mm-hmm.
It's always them just putting on a show. You know you're watching a sketch, you know? So, in this, the ending is just another example of the director going, I don't care about giving you a literal ending, something that you can intellectualize. This is purely emotional. It's just like a little curly cue. Kind of like what Paul Verhoeven did at the end of Total Recall, except it totally worked in that movie, but in this one I just feel like they're jerking me off.
I mean, that's literally called a happy ending in a massage.
Well, my masseuse was really old and her hand felt like sandpaper.
Oh, wow.
That's what it felt like with this movie.
Oh, yeah, metaphor. Okay, that's, yeah.
I guess you could say it was all metaphor at the very, very end, but once it gets into that territory, it's like, well, geez. If you can interpret it any way, then why commit it to film? What am I supposed to get out of this? So, it was frustrating. That being said, I do want to point out that I don't think the Wonder thing entirely works, but they definitely put effort into it. It feels like a fresh movie. If you want a palate cleanser, I think Birdman is definitely something to check out.
That's a good one. The long takes for the actors, right, is basically the same as being on the stage, because you got to go through so much at once.
That's true. Just another example of them being clever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? Do you get it, guys?
I don't know, because this next movie was The Remnant, and that was long-ass takes, too, so it might not necessarily have been a nod to the theater.
Moving on to the final movie we're going to talk about today, The Founder. The Founder focuses on I guess it's like a milkshake mixer machine. He's the equivalent of a door-to-door salesman, but he goes business to business. And one day he discovers a little restaurant, and this is circa 1954, 55, something like that. And he discovers a place called McDonald's. He speaks to the owners. They give him the rights to sign up people for franchises and expand the business. And eventually he decides he doesn't need the McDonald's brothers, and he cuts them out of the business.
Tale as old as time.
Basically, there's a lot of American qualities to this film, good and bad. In this one, John, does anything stand out about Keaton's work versus the other two movies we saw?
There was no redeeming him in the end. The other ones, you're supposed to hate him in the beginning so that he can have a redemption in the end. And this one, he just gets worse and worse and worse as a human.
Well, that's interesting, because my next question is judging solely by the film's accounting of history, because I have not studied McDonald's corporate history. I'm pretty sure you haven't either. But we have definitely both watched The Founder, so purely off of this film, and whatever its bias is, I guess you do feel Ray Kroc is the villain?
Yeah, he's definitely the villain. He ran two very nice gentlemen out of business and made billions in the process. He scorned his own wife, stole someone else's wife.
Did he steal Patrick Wilson's wife, played by Linda Cardellini, or is it just that two people in loveless marriages found each other? It's how you look at it.
Nah, it was wife stealing. It was pure, unadulterated wife stealing.
If you ask the adulterers, they're going to have a different perspective.
Oh, yeah, but those guys.
I think Kroc is an anti-hero. Because while he does some rotten, immoral things, he's also a perfect example of making something of yourself if you're willing to put the work in. Blur the specific details of how he achieved his dream, smother the lens in Big Mac sauce, and what you have is a guy who was unfulfilled in life, and by the end of the picture, he got what he wanted. The universe went to him with, Ray, you're middle-aged, you got a house, a wife, you could stop right now, baby. But hey, let's go a step further. How would you like to supersize your life? And that's what he did.
Standing on the proverbial corpses of Dick and Mac McDonald and Patrick Wilson's character. Not to mention all the future owners that he screwed over by becoming a land mogul.
Did you feel the same way At the very end of the movie, when they show pictures of the real people, I got this gremlin feeling from Ray Kroc. He looked like a little guy that would shake you down for your money.
Watching the ending, I remember thinking, oh, wow, this guy, he looks shady. He's a real piece of crap. He seems like just a horrible human being. And then the Weinstein Company logo flashed up and was like, oh, no. That guy's worse.
How do you think the McDonald's brand comes off in this picture?
The first act, I think, when Ray is talking to the McDonald's, they use real stock footage and old photographs to show them as, like, two loving guys who started this amazing thing. And it felt like propaganda, and then the rest of the movie is just Ray being a very bad human.
Definitely. It's like, okay, here's this feel-good story, this backstory that all giant companies want to have and make up. But guess what? The more you watch the movie, you realize that's not the actual real beginning of this company.
Mm-mm.
I feel obligated to mention that the McDonald's brothers, as mentioned in the film, from my glorious state of New Hampshire, we have so few celebrities. I want to make sure everybody out there knows, you people in California, New York, New Hampshire is on the board with creating one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the greatest evils this world has ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
We started it, baby.
Yeah. They're clear-cutting forests for their beef and everything. Like,
Did you ever work at a McDonald's?
my first job, I'm glad you asked. 16 years old.
Oh, in 1976? Tell me more about that.
Child labor. 76. Holy. I'm 90s, late 90s. I quit when I turned 18 because child protective laws no longer applied to me, and I was still in high school, so it was like they were going to work me till midnight every night before having to go to school in the morning.
Do you remember what they paid you an hour?
Yeah, it was like $7, $6. It was minimum wage.
Well, I was also a valued McDonald's employee back in high school for a short stretch. I gotta say, watching the slimy way Ray Kroc did some of his deals, it makes sense what led me to quit. After 9 months, I was supposed to get a raise from $6.25 to a whopping $6.50 an hour.
Ooh.
And the manager who laid out the deal when I got hired, the very same person, she sat me down when I asked her about it and said, "We can't afford the 25 cents right now."
You can afford that extra, what, 10, if you work 40 hours, that's what, $10 a week?
Well, adjusted for inflation, that's like a mountain of cash in today's dollars.
Huge.
Needless to say, I gave my 2 weeks' notice. There are a lot of Ray Krocs in this world. But for you, John, is there any sort of moral to the story? Any message to take away from watching The Founder?
Don't trust a shady businessman.
Yeah. Like he says at the end, they made over $1 million apiece off the deal.
Yeah, and that was the 60s? Like, they were set for life.
Yeah, they weren't hurting for cash, just as long as they didn't think about how much more they probably should have gotten.
With the 1% profit thing, it's got to be a handshake deal, because otherwise the board won't go for it.
And for sure, in that scene, when they're hammering out the details of separating the partnership with Ray Kroc, you see the look on their face when they said, "We're going to do a handshake deal." I totally saw in their faces that they knew exactly what it meant.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they knew they were never going to see that money. But hey, Happy Meals, everybody!
Happy Meals and Golden Arches. And poop in the ball pit.
Yeah, that ball pit would smell so bad sometimes.
Ah. That was always the punishment. If you screwed up somewhere, they'd be like, "All right, your punishment is to go clean the ball pit." I'm like, oh.
Just like Clean and Sober, you find a dead girl in there that OD'd. It's a little awkward because the first thing you do when you uncover her bare bottom is you get in there like Michael Keaton did.
I was just do one quick bump off her ass and then turn this dead body over to the police.
And they're like, John, don't you realize she's probably dead? I knew it getting in there, sir.
The smell was a dead giveaway.
Not really, though, because it's McDonald's and everything smells like that, so can't you blame me?
Oh, it smelled like OD'd hooker.
What was your favorite scene or detail?
When Nick Offerman's character was getting upset that Ray was trying to peddle a milkless milkshake, it reminded me of working there and having those weird bags in the back where you just pour into the milk machine. It was such a, obvious thing of, yeah, there should be milk in the milkshake.
McDonald's
just found a way to save you, me, and all our owner-operators literally hundreds of dollars a year in electric
And what
costs.
would that be?
2 words, powdered milkshake. I'm telling you, I came across a remarkable product called Instamix. Like I say, it's a powdered milkshake. It's a fraction of the cost of ice cream and requires no refrigeration.
Ray.
I tell you, I tried it myself. It tastes just like the real thing. It's delicious. It comes in chocolate, comes in vanilla. Me, I'm a vanilla man.
Ray, we have no interest in a milkshake that contains no milk. Why don't we add sawdust to the hamburgers while we're at it? Frozen French fries.
You don't want to save a bundle.
Not like that.
We're talking about the same great taste while boosting the bottom line.
It's called a milkshake, Ray. Real milk. Now and forever.
Just something about that just was funny to me.
Were you working at McDonald's when they rolled out the McFlurry?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Monopoly game?
As an employee, I was not allowed to participate.
I hated that, because people would always bug us about it, and they don't understand. We only have so many fry sleeves and whatnot that have the stickers on it. When we run out, we're just going to switch to the regular ones. It's not our fault, damn it.
So people come in and yell at teenagers. That's my first job. It's my first real experience in the real world, and you're yelling for it.
A recurring theme is that Ray takes ideas and reappropriates them. He doesn't have original ideas. So at the end, Ray's practicing a speech in front of the mirror talking about persistence being the key to success.
Mm-hmm.
And did you catch that it's word for word from a self-help record he was listening to at the beginning of the movie?
That was really funny that record was their self-help record. Because, now you just put on a YouTube video or something.
It's so in line with his character. The big moment where he realizes he can get rich off leasing land to franchisees.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else came up with that idea. You mentioned the powdered milkshake. According to the movie, Joan Kroc came up with it. I'd say hand in hand with Kroc's persistence was his ability to see the potential of other people's ideas.
Yes.
So then what's your biggest criticism for this movie?
With every movie, and this is just a criticism of all semi-historical movies of this nature. Earlier when he pays and his meal's ready immediately, we're used to that, but he wasn't. Every movie has a, what do you mean this thing the modern audience is used to is happening? I'm not used. Why does that have to happen in every single movie about this stuff?
On the whole, I agree with you, but if we're talking McDonald's specifically, maybe you've had the same experience since you're also a former employee. Let me tell you, I'm not getting my order speedy.
Oh, yeah.
It takes so much longer now. The service sucks compared to our day. We were better employees.
Very much so, yeah.
So in this particular case, I felt like he had the advantage. Oh, geez. You mean you could actually get your food quickly at one point in time? I wish I could go back to the 50s.
I don't know. Would you get served? I don't know.
Well, they do touch on it briefly when Kroc is courting people to get a franchise from him. He says, you're a man, a woman. He points to a black lady. McDonald's is for everybody.
There are no Asian people in that crowd.
Yeah, but this was also in the Midwest. I don't expect there to be many Asians.
True.
I've been a Linda Cardellini fan since Freaks and Geeks. I went to the defunct show Ask Me Another on NPR.
Mm-hmm.
They did a recording in LA, and I went to it, and she was one of the guests. And this was just a few years ago. She still looked great. Very small lady. But in this, she plays Joan, don't remember her maiden name or her first husband's name, but she becomes Joan Kroc, and they give you a little bit of the spice between them. It goes from them talking on the phone, and then, I want to say in the last 10 minutes of the movie, boom, she shows up at his house, and she's his wife. That felt very truncated to me, and I wish they had expanded on that about their courtship and how it went down. I really wanted to see Patrick Wilson's face when she divorced him.
Look, you make a mean steak, but those burgers, I'm leaving you.
It doesn't compare to a quarter pounder.
The quarter pounder with cheese. Ain't no porterhouse ever gonna top that.
There is a lot of pounding at Ray Kroc's house, let me tell you.
The triple pounder. Oh, wee.
When he's managing his first McDonald's and he's telling the guy making the burgers, you gotta press down on that meat. That's what he was doing with Joan. Pushing that meat.
This is where every one of our conversations go.
Don't say it like it's a bad thing.
I love that every one of our conversations goes this way.
If you're into perverts, listeners, please contact us at thescreencompanion@gmail.com.
You're going to get the weirdest emails. They're all going to be from me.
So after watching 3 films covering his pre-stardom and his comeback, what do you have to say about Michael Keaton's acting?
Kid's good. He does actual human emotions very well. He knows how to interact with his fellow actors. Acting is reacting. He reacts very well.
Also, I think he's a monologue king. He's got enough complexity to carry those introspective beats, and it's not boring to watch. So the final segment of our show, TLDL, too long, didn't listen. John, I'm going to throw some quick questions at you. Give me some quick answers. So starting off with an easy one. Which of these 3 movies engaged you the most?
It was Birdman.
If we're putting together a Michael Keaton retrospective, what order would you show these 3 movies in?
I think chronological.
Is Clean and Sober a better example of an addiction movie, or The Founder a biopic?
Clean and Sober as an addiction movie.
Kathy Baker as Charlie, Emma Stone as Sam, or Nick Offerman as Dick McDonald?
Such a weird one. I'm gonna go Emma Stone as Sam? What's the context? Is there context to this?
We've already established you and Andrew love Emma Stone. He loved her in La La Land. You weren't on that episode, so I'll tell you and everybody who didn't listen to that episode, I am not an Emma Stone fan. Birdman did not change my mind on that. I think Nick Offerman is an unsung hero of the film. But fine, Emma Stone, go for it. Have it your way.
Just like... is it Burger King?
That's Burger King.
Ah!
Which movie had the best supporting cast?
I'm going to say The Founder.
Someone comes to you and says they've never seen a Michael Keaton movie. Which out of these 3 do you recommend to showcase his talent specifically?
Probably Clean and Sober.
McDonald's, Burger King, or Wendy's?
Wendy's!
I'm glad we can agree on something. Who looks worse from watching these movies? Theater actors, McDonald's, or 80s coke-fueled white-collar criminals?
That's a tough one. I'm going to say McDonald's. Screw those jerks. Unless they give us money for sponsorship.
And finally, who's the bigger asshole? Daryl for embezzling money, Reagan bringing a gun into a theater and firing it on stage, and at one point pointing it at the crowd, or Ray Kroc for cutting out the McDonald's?
It's got to be the threat of life. Like, the other two are money related. Reagan's threatened someone with a loaded gun and then shot himself.
Yeah, that just feels like such an overly dramatic, whiny, actory thing to do.
Yeah.
Not only am I going to try to commit suicide, I'm going to do it in front of everybody. Screw your feelings.
They gotta see me.
If Clean and Sober brings you down, which of the other two movies should you watch right after to lift you up?
I watched Birdman and felt better. When Keaton didn't win an Oscar for Birdman, didn't they push out The Founder pretty fast to try and make up for that? Which I think he also didn't win an Oscar for.
He never won an Oscar, did he?
No, he didn't. As all three of these films have proven what a good actor he is.
He had to have been the best one of these years.
I'm pretty sure Birdman won the year Birdman came out, and they let him do the speech.
So it was Best Picture, but they didn't give him Best Actor.
No, I think they gave it to Eddie Redmayne for...
Jupiter Ascending?
Redmayne for Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, man. Stephen Hawking, but he's not even... He's barely using his body in that movie. How much acting can you do?
Yeah, he's doing an amazing physical impression, but at the end of the day, Stephen Hawking's a real guy. It's just mimicry. It's amazing, but it's just mimicry, whereas in Birdman, Keaton had to make that guy. He had to create that person from probably a real place, but that person didn't exist before. That's acting. Ah!
You've reached the end of this episode of The Screen Companion. Thank you for listening.